Yo, what's up?
Sorry. Had a coughing fit at the worst time.
I call you right when you do that. Audio level seems good. Let me share my Dota screen with you in Discord so you don't have a delay. Cool. Let me know if you can see it.
I can.
Awesome. What is up, chat? I'll be focusing on the coaching session while we're doing this, so the student gets our undivided attention, but if you have any questions, I can visit those after our hour together. So this is the first replay that you sent me. It's a hoodwink game. You have Puck, Ogre, Troll, and Witch Doctor on your team, and you're an Archon level player. Very cool. So I don't think you can see the notes that I'm typing up on screen, but you have the document, so it should be changing in your document.
Yeah.
All right. So just to fill in chat here, Sanguine is looking at playing position in 4 and 5 mainly, but just learning the game overall as well and knowing where on the map you should be over the course of the game. I like your starting items. One thing that I like to think about at the very start is for the laning phase, are you in a hard lane or an easy lane, and what can you do about it? So you have, I think Ogre is your off lane. Cool, let's see what you do. I'll speed up some of the early game stuff. And I'll take your vision here. This will be focusing mainly on where you are. Just a couple mindset things to talk about before we really get into the details of your gameplay. These are just reminders that I would give to every Dota player. Number one, your team quality varies a lot. And there are some matches that are going to be so bad that you can't win them no matter how good you play because they're griefed or something like that. So just mentally preparing yourself for that. And then also on the flip side, acknowledging when you get an exceptionally good team and enjoying that too. That's one of the things that can be a big stressor in Dota over time is if you want your teammates to be playing better than they actually can, then you'll be consistently disappointed. So the most important thing is to focus on yourself, which you're already doing here by investing in some coaching. So thank you for that.
That's one of my top 3 biggest issues is kind of having this expectation that if I play my best and consistently do good, that I should win. And then when I feel like I did great and don't win, that really messes with my mental and subsequent games or makes me not play at all for a while.
Yeah, the analogy that I use to think about that is, I'm going to turn the audio down a little bit so I can hear myself think a little bit more. What I do to think about that is your skill as a player, say you're an Archon right now, the outcome of the match is kind of like weighing all the skillful moves that each of the teams are doing. And if you're above average for your bracket, it's like adding a few extra grains of rice that are tipping the scale in your favor. But if your other 4 allies are very underperforming and maybe the enemy team is playing really well, it doesn't matter if you played above your bracket, you're still going to lose. So you can forgive yourself, and you can also just say, hey, this is part of human nature. Sometimes people on your team show up drunk or high or tired or angry or something like that, and that's not within your sphere of control. So the most important thing is to focus on what's in your sphere of control. So I'm going to put that as reminder number 2. Focus on what is in your sphere of control. And then reminder number 3 is at the end of a match, try to process your main personal mistakes. There will always be matches where someone on your team like really throws and it's sad. One example would be like the Aegis drops from Roshan and someone picks it up on accident and they shouldn't have, or they accidentally kill it, or they just run down mid and they die because they're not paying attention. Stuff like that will happen. So just taking those in stride is really important. So we got those reminders out of the way. Let's see how you play the lane. You're against Phantom Assassin and who else? Venge. Okay, so it's I would say the top priority here would be to get your magic stick as fast as possible. Even at the draft, let's just say this is a general note. At the draft, see how crucial a magic stick / wand will be. Because PA will feed you a whole bunch of charges on it, which will give you a lot of mana and health income over time. Their lane is relatively dangerous in that they have a slow, a jump, a stun, and a minus armor. And then one of my top priorities that I've been working on in the early game is eating tangos aggressively. I'm going to back up in time a little bit and see how this fight got to be as tough as it was. So your Ogre Magi is making a pretty big mistake right now in not staying topped off, which makes him an easier kill target. So he's in lane here. He ate his first tango. Kind of a rough start, so they're going to definitely get more value from the first couple waves. You want to be trading with the enemy's position 5 whenever you can. And I would say like right now is a good example of when you should just eat one of your tangos just to get topped off. Because as you fight, you're still going to be gaining HP and losing HP. So we'll say early game, stay topped off with tango use, even if you're at 80% HP. Cool. So that would set you up for a better situation there. I see you trying to block for the ogre, which is nice of you. But this was a pretty hard start because you both walked a lane a little bit hurt from the early game. That will happen. Cool. So we're backing up a bit. The main priority in the early game is to make sure the lane equilibrium is good. I'm going to put this note for both your hard support and your support. Lane equilibrium. You want the lane to be closer to your tower. Okay. And we'll say that for hard support as well, because all the fights you'll have a better retreat point. Okay, and the lane's in a good place now. You did die there. If you stayed topped off with the tangos, you may have been able to live, but that would have required like basically using the tangos constantly. But you can always come back from a death or two. And then as the position 4 specifically, you are the #1 person who should TP in to save people if the enemy team overextends. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people consider position 4 to be one of the most complex and difficult in the early game. So I'm going to add this for your support notes. Keep an eye on the minimap and listen to comms. Do you mute everyone, by the way?
I have times of coming out of my shell, and then a bad experience will happen, and then I will disable all socials from the settings so that I can't even see pings at times. I just find bad experiences 9 out of 10 games usually. Yeah,
I've been collecting data on the toxicity of Dota, and it's fairly high, so I understand that completely. But the minimap is always there, so keep an eye on the minimap and watch.
I can still see my pings in chat, by the way. I just can't see theirs. I continue making callouts.
Oh, that's good then. Yeah, because one of the things that I definitely appreciate when I'm carry, like say for example, I'm playing Troll Warlord, and say the Necro and the Invoker both dive under bottom tower to try to kill the Troll. If you're a really good position 4 and you have mana and you have health and you see that they're under the tower and you could probably kill them, that would be your job to do of all the people on the team. Same thing with mid. If the Omni Knight were to dive under mid tower to try to get a kill on the puck, it's your job to TP in and kill them. You don't always have to do that, but of all the positions, position 4 usually is the first person to rotate and try to save people.
Well, one of my mistakes is switching heroes often, and that means I'm sometimes learning the hero instead of learning the game. Hoodwink is one of my newer picks, and on Nature's Prophet I would have been maybe paying more attention to bot lane for helping opportunities.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the stages of learning. They call it conscious competence versus unconscious competence. if you've practiced something a whole bunch, you don't really have to think about your spells and abilities. It's kind of automatic for yourself, and you can focus more on the minimap. So lane's in a good spot. That was a good D ward from you. I like that you're consistently getting damage. There you had a quick tango. Lane's in a great spot. So far, not too bad. They're investing a lot to get you there. Okay, so that was a blood grenade invested to kill you. Using the trees could have been helpful there.
I whiffed a net.
Yeah, it happens. And then also, I think, yeah, if you had the magic stick earlier, that also would have saved you.
Yeah.
Okay. Did I put that? Yeah.
It's one of the main things I'm working on is that my starting items tend to be inflexible, and sometimes I don't even notice who the enemy mid laner is until they walk into my lane. And I've been trying to be much more mindful about being flexible rather than falling into like hamster wheel things that I do every single time.
What support items do you typically consider as part of your mid game?
Solar Crest or Glimmer Cape most of the time. Yules if I need to interrupt a key enemy channel.
Oh yeah, like Duel or something.
Quite a lot of them in the mid game. It's my starts that tend to be a bit standardized.
Cool. I like the raindrops. That's smart. Nice. Got to kill in PA. This would be a really good opportunity. After you get 2 kills in the lane, you could potentially leave and go somewhere else. You don't need to, per se, but the Ogre has no contest right now of people messing with him. So you can go check the boxes of, do I want to steal a bounty? Do I want to get a water rune? Do I want to ward something? Do I want to teleport to a different lane? Or just portal down to bottom lane? Currently, it doesn't really look like there's a place that you would really want to go right away, but that's a really good point to assess. Once people are missing, or you just killed them, where do I want to go?
An invisible problem I'm having there, if you wouldn't mind pausing real quick. Ogre at that point had been critical of my gameplay, let's call it. And when that happens sometimes, or I get in my own head about it, I start thinking about how my actions could be perceived. So I'm thinking like maybe if I leave lane now, it might be the right move, but Ogre would get tilted at me. So I want to keep up appearances to a degree. So I get in my own head on my teammates' behalf at times. And that's one thing that was going on in that lane.
Yeah, that's a really tricky part of whenever people are trying to learn Dota is some people will give you bad information and they will guilt you into playing wrong because they are very opinionated and they think that you very much should either leave them alone or join them, and sometimes they're wrong about the assessment. So I would be pretty quick about muting people if they're giving you shit, just because this is an Archon level game. I'm not too far above this, but we're both like very far from the pro level. So the people who are playing at this level also don't really know what the ideal plays are because they wouldn't be at this level if they did. So if the Ogre is giving you shit, that's also just an ego problem because as we saw, he walked to lane very hurt and that made the lane for the first few waves pretty hard, and that was fully on him. There's nothing you could have really done about that. So when people are being really critical of you, I just give them the quick report for toxic chat and then it automatically mutes them. So let's say, don't be discouraged if people are overly critical of your play. It's usually them venting frustration and not being able to focus on themselves. Because Ogre certainly has a lot of things that he could have done better in this early game too. But that is good for context of you felt a little bit of pressure about they were unhappy with how you're playing, so maybe you should change something. But they're not always the best at telling you exactly what they need.
They could be completely muted and I'd still psych myself out thinking about it.
Yep, so top lane, overall, I think you've slightly lost it. Not you personally, but the enemy team is getting more net worth from it. But that's not the end of the world. You can always try to help the other lanes win, or prepare for some kind of catch-up mechanic like stacking. As the position 4, that's another one of your key jobs. I'm going to add this here. Stack triangle camps when you can't lane and are not needed elsewhere. Whenever
I stack very well on heroes that I'm familiar with. I think that would show in the other 2 games where I'm playing. One of them I'm playing Warlock. I'm very comfortable with Warlock.
Cool. Yeah, I like Warlock. He's a really powerful hero. He brings a lot of initiation to the table, and a lot of teams struggle with having a good person to start fights, but you can just walk in and press R, and it usually is a good start.
Warlock counters people because they feel not threatened by upheaval until suddenly they can't move. So it's kind of a play on people's psychology in the meta of things.
Looks like you're getting the Lotuses pretty well. The Venge has been pretty sweaty about dropping the Sentry Ward. But I think 7-minute Wisdom, that's another one of your jobs. You can communicate that with the Ogre if he wants it, but normally 7-minute Wisdom is your job as a position 4, so I'm just writing that down. That's going to help you catch up in levels, like you'd be able to be level 5, get a little bit more damage out. And then don't be afraid to buy extra regen, like another set of tangos or something is good. Okay, you are getting the Wisdom.
I started walking towards it a few times, but Ogre was worrying me by staying in lane at such low health.
Yeah. And this is a fair point for you to stay in XP range. I don't know what you're looking at on the map. Let me look at your player camera, player view. Yeah, just being in XP range is good. The Omni is there, so you can't really last hit or anything, but just being able to deny some of your creeps. That's one of the things, if I can critique Ogre's play over the course of this, he wasn't really doing as much of denying your creeps to keep the lane pulled back. If he's not able to hit the PA, he could still be putting the lane back, but he was pushing the lane forward, which made your job more difficult.
I was respecting the blur there. I didn't know where PA was. She could have been standing in the way for all I knew.
Yeah. Yep, I actually took some notes of this situation. Let's just kind of go back and talk through what happened. So let's go to your view. So Omni Knight is visible in lane. If he's visible and PA is not accounted for, we just assume that there are 3 people, and we shouldn't even really contest the lane until he leaves and goes back to mid. And this is like when I like to just, if you're top lane and you see he's there, just ping the enemy's mid tower, so Puck knows that they can push if they're not paying attention, and then bottom knows that they can also take more risks. Like this fight against Necro right now is really good, and they're able to do that because there are 3 people top. So they're dividing their experience top 3 ways, which is really bad for them. So if you're able to just run away and stack camps or place a ward or something, then you're going to extend your team's lead. I made the same mistake.
I failed to notice Omni was mid. I thought it was Necro mid, so seeing Omni in my lane, I thought it was their offlaner.
Yeah, true. Necro is a more common mid than Omni.
It's the earlier failure I mentioned of not paying attention to the enemy team at draft or start of the match.
Yeah.
Everybody hit mid.
Okay, pay, I'm writing this one down. Attention to enemy draft. Who is the mid? Is this a good magic stick start game? And then are there any key items to counter their spells? That can help you inform whether you want to go Glimmer first, or maybe you want to force staff. Like if there's a Slark, you could break people out of the leash with that. But yeah, your mid laner lost, so you're basically working with a game where your off laner lost, and then your carry seems like they won their lane. But it's going to be a relatively difficult mid game. You have to play kind of defensive. Puck goes top. Nice net, nice kill. Great. So this would be a good chance to push the tower. Puck is taking the XP and stuff. Taking the CS. There are 3 bottom right now. This would be a fair time to either push top really hard or someone can push mid. See how your team wasn't really benefiting from the mid lane creeps for a bit. Okay, grab the Watcher there next to you. Nice. So you're going mana boots next. You're doing good using the trees and stuff. Nice shot. Cool. Well, your team, I think, is now ahead. Let's check net worth.
Surprising.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big swing for your team. Cool. All right. So now the fun question of how do we get behind in this game? Because this does end up being a loss. I appreciate your courage and being able to submit a replay for a cost or a cast or analysis. I know a lot of people, they want to show their wins, but it's harder to find mistakes in a win than it is in a loss. So proud of you for being brave.
The challenging part was finding games where I felt like I should have won, because looking back, I could tell my points of failure, like not paying attention. I didn't even look about that game, I think, and then I realized I didn't, and that seems kind of bad playing in the position 4. So feels like I understand pretty well why I would have lost that game, but I don't know what I don't know, so that's why this game is here.
Oh, nice. You got the little helper. That was a good double stack you did earlier. And then 14-minute wisdom is coming up soon. You don't always have to take it. Some people will be very fussy about they feel like they need it because maybe they fell behind. So if they're really wrestling for you for it, you can always let people have it because it goes to 2 people on the team anyway. Just want to make sure it doesn't get stolen by the enemy team. This is really good that you're getting some XP up here. You've done some good stacks. Yeah, so far you're playing a good game. Your team's winning fights mid. You're going to stack again. If your mana is good, another thing you can do is soften up the stacks, depending on who your carry is. Some carries struggle with fighting stacks early on. Your Troll Warlord does not have a Battle Fury or anything.
Yeah.
You're going for a Maelstrom. Is the Circlet going to be a Null Talisman or Wraithband, or you're thinking about it?
So early on, I felt on the back foot, so I ended up feeling that way the entire game. And with that, I feel like all of my gold has to go to important items that I might even get way later than I'm supposed to anyway. I don't think I ended up upgrading that one, more than likely. Usually I'd get a Wraithband, but I've been thinking of Null Talisman more recently.
I think since you have mana boots, you don't need the Null Talisman. Your spells aren't super expensive for mana. So in this case, I would have gone for Wraithband. And you know that the Wraithband, Bracer, and Null Talisman all double their stats at minute 25?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, so it's always worth it to finish. It's even better, I think, to complete the small items when you're behind, just because you can bring more to the table for these kind of skirmishes in the mid game. You have a little bit more stats. You're less likely to be killed. You would have more armor from the Wraithband, and then just more attack speed and damage. I think Hoodwink is an agility hero, right? Yeah. Yeah, so let's say finish small items early on. Cool. I like that you've gotten lots of regen and stuff from the trusty shovel. Can use that a little bit faster, but there is crazy fights going on right now, so it's easy to forget. Yeah, I think this fight here, let's see how this was set up. a lot of teams will run into areas without really a clear objective.
Yeah.
And if they don't have an objective and they don't have vision, then you're pretty much setting yourself up for a bad fight.
Yeah.
And as the support, you're usually supposed to be following the course, so it's not really on you. Just a lot of people will just wander into the enemy side of the map and they're like, let's get a kill. 17 minutes.
This happens after being on the back foot, winning one fight. People feel that they can push into the enemy side of the map. I never feel that way, so I usually go back to stacking or even farming maybe, and I notice my team's at a tier 2. It's frustrating for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really depends on your carry and how ahead the team is, because a lot of times the team doesn't know how ahead y'all are, and this location that they're pushing right now is one of the worst. If I'm thinking about the map and the best ways that you can run at the enemy team, going uphill into this, can I use alt? No. Going uphill into their triangle is one of the worst angles of attack, just because they have multiple levels of high ground advantage and it's often warded, and they also have an outpost to teleport to. So relatively speaking, it's easier to run at their jungle and kind of contest this high ground up here. But a lot of people, they're not really thinking about the lay of the land and the ground. They're just thinking about enemy hero I want to kill. So the puck is playing very dangerously right here on the map, especially since this bottom tower hasn't been killed yet.
Thinking I could have been working towards that instead of sitting in our triangle, maybe.
Yeah, I think for this stage of the game, so you're looking at like 15 minutes to 30 minutes, the question should be, who do I need to follow who's making fights happen right now? And it's probably the puck, because the puck is pretty fast. They have the ability to escape from stuff, and they're the one who's kind of like catching people and rooting them and stuff. So we'll say during mid game, from like 10 to 30 minutes, know which core you want to follow and who to avoid. So we want to avoid the troll, basically let him do his thing if he wants to farm. He won an MKB first item. Very interesting. Okay. But yeah, I would be following the puck mainly right now. You also are just one portal away from your team, so I think pushing the lane there wasn't really a mistake. I would just go portal down to bottom, and then you could join them at this tower. Pushing lanes is good. I was talking with a professional support player, and he was saying that it's good to just make sure that 2 of the 3 lanes are pushed across the river. And even if you are a support, if you notice one is pretty far back, you can always push it and then portal and join your team.
That's been my theory of victory. Dota for me is a game of developing a theory of victory and then trying to test it and iterate on it.
Mm-hmm.
And my theory of victory these days is essentially that fights only matter if they translate into tower kills, and you can only turn fights into tower kills if the lanes are properly pushed beforehand.
Yep.
Otherwise, by the time you get there, the enemies respawn.
Yep.
So it's my main way of getting through games is getting lanes pushed and having them constantly causing pressure.
Good, that's smart. 21-minute wisdom. That's one thing. I think wisdom runes, I'll just put all of them out. 7, 14, 21, 28-minute wisdoms. This is one of the relatively newer mechanics that people at your bracket and my bracket and even in Ancient are pretty slow on. You are going to get it, which is good, but a lot of games you get a huge advantage just by being on top of your wisdom rune every time, because it goes to you and to one other person. So pretty often 2 people will get stronger spells just because you went to go pick it up. I'll often try to organize my farming route as a carry where I end up running past them too. Yeah, your team is still ahead. Where does it all go wrong and why? So you're with the puck now, which I think is good. We don't have wards with us, are there? Can I see the shop? Okay, wards are not available. Big fight mid. Great. Still going great for your team.
I'm realizing how big of a role my emotional perception plays in these games, because I just felt terrible the whole time about how our team was doing, and it all came from my laning phase and dying a few times to Venge PA.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing too about the rubber band mechanics in Dota is you can have a really good early game and then it just goes to shit after that. One of my, I would say, most soul-crushing losses was when I went 9-0 as Drow Ranger in my safe lane. 9 kills in the early game, and we still lost the game. Yeah. So just kind of knowing that that can happen to the enemy team as well. If you die 2 or 3 times, it really doesn't matter, especially as a support. The early game gold, it can sometimes be an issue if they get like an early Battle Fury or something. But with characters like PA, because she has a low health pool, as long as her BKB isn't up, she can still be blown up with spells. So there are things you can do about characters, even if they're pretty far ahead. And let's look at this fight. Let's see what went wrong. Puck dying is probably the start of it. Okay.
I took too long to get back.
So everyone's here by the T2. Omni's going to be up in 9. I think this is just a get back situation because your team has very few ults and Ogre has nothing. He's basically out of juice. So this would be a fullback. And then this would be the team's mistake more so than yours, because they shouldn't really be under tower without a clear advantage.
I misclicked there.
It's okay. It was a good intention though, trying to save your core. Okay, so PA is on a big power spike, but that was her 9-second BKB. Yeah, it's interesting that the mental perception can be very different from the game state sometimes, just based on the different pressures that we feel. But objectively speaking, the early game for you wasn't really that bad. I would say I like to give it like a letter grade as though it's a class or something. Like I would say your early game was like at least a B, maybe a B minus. Like you did get some work done. You guys did get some kills top. You died a couple times, but the Omni had to go up there and do that, which ended up wasting his time and his XP and just being able to farm mid. So it evens out a little bit. And the Ogre was making bigger mistakes than you were in the early game, so that's just him deflecting and being a salty pirate. So right now, your team has no vision, so I'd be trying to figure out, okay, where can we get vision?
I was building Nullifier there because I felt like, nope, we talked it out in the team, nobody was going to go Nullifier for the Omni Knight, so I'm starting to save for it.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't feel optimal for me to get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you shouldn't have to get that. That would be an item that Troll should have gotten.
Ogre could multicast it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good fight for you guys. Fighting defensively around the T2.
This I greeted for that and killed me, I think.
He has a shield rune, so makes it hard to kill him. And your team's still slightly ahead. PA does scale really well. The Omni is very oppressive. Let's see the wards. How often would you say that you have to place the wards as the 4 or the 5 versus...
I have to do it as a 1 oftentimes. So like I'm always picking it up. If I open the shop and it's available, I'll go do it.
Mm-hmm. And you might already know this, but one of the kind of warding objectives, I would say, is... let me break this down. When behind... ward your own ancients, and then when ahead, ward as you roam/gank. I haven't really seen use of smoke, so when do you choose to get those?
When I am reminded oftentimes, I've been building up what's within my sphere of gameplay, and smokes is still one of those things I'm approaching after I've nailed a bunch of other things I've been working on. So
Cool.
definitely got some work to do there, with
Cool.
smokes particularly.
As a fun thing, you could just try to randomly smoke once per game, like ping the smoke. People will often group up and try to go for something. But it's always best to smoke and then run at area that you already have vision of so you know what target you're running for. Some people will just like blindly smoke into the darkness, and that oftentimes is just a waste. One of the most common mistakes is, like I said, when they smoke and then they run uphill into the enemy triangle.
Yeah.
It's just not very Sun Tzu appropriate. Yep, still a very winnable game. Your team has all their tier 2s, so does the enemy team. Nice game of Dota. Enemy team is 3k net worth up. Tormentor is another one of those things that's very good, and a lot of teams just don't pay attention to it. But that's 1,400 net worth. You can normally do it with 3 people. Certain heroes can solo it.
I've spent a lot of time across many games just standing by it, pinging it, and then after my carry finishes farming triangle, they go to mid lane, and it feels pretty bad to stand around for a minute doing nothing.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. I think a good assessment there is to know which heroes are the best at the Tormentor and kind of seeing if they're willing to position themselves at it or not. Because if they're not, then you're right, it's not worth standing there and doing nothing. But it's a very, very powerful power spike for your team if you can get the Torm.
I actually missed it again. Don't know who took the stacks I made in triangle, but Troll was not moving towards them after they were pinged many times.
It's okay. Carry brain, sometimes you're just really focused on the last hit in front of you and not looking at the mini-map at all. You're good at landing your ult. Hoodwink so fast.
In this match, I learned that Enchanted Quiver increases my Q range.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that.
Troll never responded in chat the entire game to callouts or requests until it came time to flame. He was very talkative in the last few minutes of the game.
That's funny. Yep, when he feels like he can't do anything, he'll just take it out on other people. He's picking an appropriate hero for that kind of attitude, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he itemized very strangely. He didn't use your stacks at all. Yeah, not really making the most of the situation that was in front of him, unfortunately. But the way that I think about playing games, especially if you're solo queue, is it kind of feels like you're a bus driver for middle school kids who just want to screech and they're really immature, but you have to make sure that they safely reach the end of the match, hopefully with no mental or physical injuries.
My analogy is wrangling preschoolers to minimize the amount of sand they eat by the end of the game.
That's good. That's how people act. I feel a little bit of sympathy and pity for people who didn't have good examples set for them in sportsmanship and taking accountability for your own mistakes, because it is kind of heavy to like look at the team and say, hey guys, sorry I messed up back there. Like that hurts. It's hard to do, but it's often true. So a lot of people, instead of doing that, they will look at other people's mistakes and then get into the position of the judge, and then they'll start telling everyone why they're inadequate at what they're doing.
I was inoculated a little bit because I used to play a lot of Siege, and I coached in it for a while, even like maybe a year and a half, as consistently around like mid-level with Platinum and Emerald rank when that came out.
Nice. Yeah, it's pretty hard game right now. I think we're kind of looking at the team basically getting killed, because whenever people mentally fold, it's hard to get a play going, because then they're focused on typing angrily at each other.
The nullifier was a mistake because even though it's necessary, I simply don't survive or evade the enemy long enough to actually use it when it matters.
Yeah.
So it wasn't actually the right item if I'm not capable of using it properly.
Yep. My first thought was actually getting either Ghost Scepter, just to be physical immune for a bit, or you could even get an Aeon Disc.
That would be my priority usually, because Ghost Scepter gives no stats and that feels pretty bad for me.
Yeah. Yeah, your spells are good, and you do have pretty zippy and sustained damage with the Maelstrom, so as long as you can stay alive, you're getting good damage out.
I think I didn't farm enough either. I think I could have leveraged my Maelstrom by just hitting camps as I walk by, or doing a bit more gold generation. I didn't have enough items because I didn't farm for them.
Yeah, as the 4, you do have permission to farm like more so than the 5 does, so if your carry is very much committed to one side of the map and there's really juicy farm, sometimes it's best to just take it yourself if they're not paying attention to it. Your positioning for fights has been good. I feel like you're using trees and you're kind of standing a little bit further back because you're ranged. So the ogre should be going in first and the puck should be going in first. You guys don't really have a great draft for starting fights, so I think the enemy draft is just better because they have really tanky heroes that can run in and deal with stuff, whereas ogre, he doesn't really set up a huge initiation. He'll like walk forward and slow people and stun one person. You're making a game of it though. There's Aegis. Troll's going at people. Omni is also direct counter to Troll, because he wants to be really successful during his ult, and Omni can just make people physical immune. Well, that was a great fight. But still somehow we throw. Let's see what happens. Oh, you are going Aeon Disc after. Nice. Very smart. So for vision right now, I feel like since the token for Roche was just removed, you have good triangle vision for yourself. Who put these words down? You did. Nice. And then the Witch Doctor put one down too. Cool. Puck controller going ahead. Oh man. PA is a very exciting hero. Blinks on a support and they're instantly dead.
Yeah.
You farming top here I think is fine. You can see Ryan Gosling on the map. Child Baby Invoker farming. So PA has BKB, Battle Fury, Nullifier, Deso, and Skull Basher, and your carry has MKB, Yasha, BKB, and a Basher. So decently far behind PA. Let's see the player net worth. I love the stats that you can pull up in Dota replays. It's really nice.
This game is insane with the data it gives the player after games.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, so it's 11k net worth lead for PA over Troll. So the Ogre should have built a Halberd, not a Conda.
Yeah.
That would have been really good. The Troll probably should have gotten a Nullifier over an S and Y. Making the late S and Y feels kind of weak to me. Oh, they even changed the item they're making. Interesting. Now it's time to go in the fountain and yell at my team. Venge looking to swap someone. Puck is almost up. Nice. Got the PA. What an epic game. Oh, do you have Boots of Travel? How did you TP in? Oh, the tower just died. I was confused. I was like, there's no tower. How'd you get there? Oh man, Omni
I
is
felt
crazy.
really bad about losing it to creeps.
Yeah. Oh, Invoker also showed up. Damn, what did he hit you with? Oh, he has a Conda as well.
He's been watching too much Speed Dota.
Yeah. Okay, 4 your team is smoked. You buy back. That's cool. Whoa, why is this ogre there? Oh my goodness. That's a really frustrating thing too. Whenever they run past an objective to go for a kill when it's just way too greedy. Especially against a team like this that has a lot of save. They have Lotus, they have Necro's heals, they have Omni ult, they have Omni heals. They have like Tornado from Invoker.
I was pretty far from that because I just wasn't expecting anybody to go that far in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be a good time to try to get your team to Roche first. Wait for next Roche. And going for the tier 2s would be better just to clean up the map too and give you options before pushing high ground. If you push this high ground mid-racks and you do successfully kill it, you would still have to leave the base and then go back and get a tier 2 because those are invulnerable until you clear them. I know you already know that, but a lot of teams won't think about that and they'll just be like, hey, we killed them, let's run down mid. It's like, no, actually just take their T2s, gives you a bunch of gold, and then it makes pushing the racks easier later on. Puck is not there, not sure why. Witch Doctor says, good job in all chat. And I'm guessing this is when the troll is typing.
Yeah, Witch Doctor was pinging the MKB the entire game to let Troll know that was a mistake.
Well, I can see why he would be frustrated. That's pretty annoying. Hey, good first game. Okay. So the notes we have so far. So team quality varies a lot. Just accept that. Focus on what is in your sphere of control. And then your personal mistakes. So from that game, I would say the main personal mistakes were staying topped off with tangos in the early game. Really using the magic wand early, especially against heroes that give you a lot of charges. This would also apply if you're playing position 5 and you're against a bristleback off lane. That's just a major cash money item for lots of mana income over time. And then in the mid game, figuring out which hero is making plays and who do you want to follow. So I think for this game, it would have been the Puck. The Ogre wasn't really able to make too many good plays. But Wisdom Rune timings could be a little bit tighter, but overall not a bad game for you.
I'm thinking my main takeaway is that I do have a defensive mentality in the game towards my own teammates, and that the entire game I felt like I did not trust them to have the decision-making capacity to capitalize on fights, even if we did win them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very mistrustful, and that prevented me from being proactive in ways that might have worked out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird whenever you have to kind of work with people who are being stubborn and they don't necessarily choose the best way forward, but sometimes it's better to go along with their plan just so the team is kind of unified in its purpose.
We're closing on an hour, by the way.
Oh, it's okay. I'm having a good time, so I'll go over the whole Warlock game with you if you want.
I would like that very much. The most recent one, preferably.
I see in the Discord DMs 1 Warlock game and 2 Hoodwink games.
Oh, right. So that was the only Warlock one I shared. That's the one then.
Cool. Sounds good. Yeah, we can go overtime. I'm having fun. All right. So let's, as the match just starts, just pause and do a kind of theory crafting of what the lanes are going to be before we look at what your decisions were. So you've got on your team Zeus, Warlock, Bounty, Sand King, Drow. And then the enemy team, you have an SF, an OD, a Tide, a Jakiro, and a Batrider. So their team is very balanced. They have good initiation with the Tide. He's also going to be the very last target that you want to kill at any point. Your best kill targets are going to be SF, Batrider, and Jakiro probably.
I think I did itemize flexibly this game and ended up getting a magic stick from the start, thinking that it was going to be Troll Batrider in my lane.
Nice. It's still a good item. Cool. It's always a good sign when the team shows up as 5 early on. Shows that everyone's not AFK. They're ready to try their best. Warlock is one of my brother's favorite characters. So we're going to portal over. And you have a Sand King, or no, you have a Drow with you. Cool. Drow is an interesting carry because in the early game, she's actually more likely to win the lane than most melee carries with her range and Frost Arrow harass. Let's see, I just want to see what the Drow is doing with their attack priority. Nice use of Tango, you used it relatively faster this time. The lane's in pretty much perfect spot for you. And then do you know if they blocked your camp or not? Oh, the creeps are there. And it's fine to not pull there, because your lane's already under the tower.
I would have taken too much damage if I did.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking to stack the small camp, but this Batrider is being very annoying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, remember to aggressively eat those tangos. Could have probably been topped off again if you ate the next one.
Yeah.
Cool, got your magic wand. The Drow is very far forward there. Oh, they warded the lane. Interesting.
They did.
It's showing a ward here. Let's see. I think Batrider put it.
He put one on his own hard camp box and then killed it.
Oh no, they have one behind the tower. An obs ward. Yeah, I guess that's just to see couriers and stuff. I don't normally see that one. That's a weird placement. Interesting.
I use it when playing Nature's Prophet or Bounty Hunter.
Yeah, those are really good courier hunters. You can always pull just a single small camp into lane 2. I know the Batrider's been very aggressive. The Drow could help you with them too, because that would help them get the lane in a better spot.
He got one hard camp spawn, so I was trying to get rid of it, but didn't get the pull in time.
Mm-hmm. This epic battle.
I was baiting him with the magic wand stacks.
Keep hitting those tangos fast. Yeah, I think he just pulled the easy camp right now, whenever he leaves. And then just try to get the CS that you can from the camp, because that'll get the wave back up. The Drow should ideally be farming right here in front of the tower, and then the camp just north of that. Like, this should be where she lives. And then anytime the lane is too far forward, she falls back and farms these jungle camps back here. So she's actually kind of playing incorrectly and too far forward, but Tide is a relatively less dangerous offlaner than some that could chase a little bit better. But still, that's a lot of damage.
I found out the small camp is blocked because I tried to stack it. That's why I didn't pull there. And then the stack didn't happen, so I realized.
Mm-hmm. Yep, doesn't have to be stacked though.
That camp is particularly weak, and even on a half pull loses most of its creeps. So
yeah, I can pull the lane equilibrium back though, even still, so it's worth it.
Yeah, I should have.
And then it's almost 6 minutes. So if the lane's forward, you want to grab the Lotus. Nice pull. And then you're going for it. Perfect. Nice. Perfect play. Your level 6 is really big, but you've been nice in letting Drow get most of the XP. Do you go any different items in particular on Warlock?
Yeah, kind of varies game per game. I rush Solar Crest if my demon's doing good work and I want to leverage it harder.
Mm-hmm.
Glimmer if I need to channel upheaval and don't want to get interrupted. Yules if I want to interrupt Shadow Fiend ult, maybe. It just depends on what becomes relevant quicker. I could have TP'd there to help Zeus, but I was trying to get their Wisdom Rune.
Mm-hmm. I think that's better. You don't really have the best spells to help Zeus against multiple people. You could throw one upheaval, but...
And they could move through it at level 2.
Mm-hmm. So this would be a pretty good... You're doing it. He's doing it. Oh my gosh, that was exactly what I was going to suggest. Wow.
My imp blocked the medium camp, unfortunately. It ran from the wave.
Yeah, whenever you pull that camp, Drow's doing it now, but aggressively denying your own creeps can help too when you're pulling the weakest camp. Just wait until they're half HP and then hit them consistently. Yeah, early game, I feel like you played pretty clean. Your Drow didn't die, or she died once. Yeah, so overall, if I was the carry, I would be pretty happy with the lane. They were able to CS pretty freely and bat right or left relatively early.
At this time, I feel like the safe lane tier 1s just become death traps. And I was getting pretty antsy watching the Drow, and I was stacking hoping to get him to leave the lane because just one Ravage and he could die.
Yeah, that's one of the things that a lot of people don't know is the safe lane becomes the unsafe lane at minute 10 because the offlaner is pretty much always above level 6 and they're going to ult, and then the support is usually level 6 as well. So the Drow should go mid right now, and the Zeus should roam and gank people. So the death, if they die here, they shouldn't have been there.
The Batrider gank tilted Zeus earlier.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but like I said, the Batrider is 4, and the position 4 is the most likely person to roam and gank. The one that I have to respect the most whenever I play mid is Bounty Hunter level 4, or position 4, because he can invisibly run from one lane to the next and really set you behind.
Very powerful hero.
Mm-hmm. So Zeus is farming. So the game state right now is you did well in your lane, but the other 2 lanes lost. So what can you do?
He lost very badly. He lost the tower way earlier.
Mm-hmm. Kill for your carry is great. Yeah, and Sand King's going to be pretty much passively farming until he gets his blink. Nice upheaval. Zeus is super He has mana boots in 3.
Didn't respect the troll Batrider.
Nope. Yeah, he should have left when he had no mana. This would be a reasonable time. Okay, bounty's gone mid. Drow should have gone mid. Carry, stay safe. After 10 minutes, don't keep going back to the safe lane, especially if they're mid and like 3 other people are there. Stay safe. You have no neutral item yet, but your carry wasn't really farming creeps much. Nice stack opportunity. There you go, got one.
Looking for the hard camp, but Sand King was farming it.
Yeah. He's pretty good clearing stacks too, so as long as someone on your team gets them.
Sometimes I get up to 6 or 7 stacks and the whole team has to go do it as a communal thing.
Mm-hmm. Let's hold hands and farm together. Yeah, this is a great example of when the enemy team is committing a lot to kill your top tower, just take mid. That's like the easiest trade of your life, especially if your team is behind. So it's 5k net worth lead for the enemy team. These tier 1 towers are super flimsy. No one should go defend that. It should just be, okay, let's maybe Warlock ult to kill mid tower. Zeus could help you. Drow could help you even.
The call was made to defend top by Zeus, so I started walking there.
Cool, that was a bad call from Zeus. He made the wrong call.
I don't feel particularly obligated to guard the tier 1 towers past like minute 11 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
If we're getting other things done on the map.
Yeah. Sand King should be kind of close. Okay, wait, what? Did he choose not to get Blink and go for a Scepter? Weird. So Shield Rune top. Any good ult up people? This is a good example of when the team makes a bad call together and it ends up working out because they did it together.
I hate that very much, but yeah, 5 clowns doing the same thing is better than 5 geniuses playing separately in games like this.
Yep. It worked. I really like that the golem is so good at pushing towers. Oh, you have the samurai one. Sheesh. The drip.
This is literally called the Drippy Warlock in my loadout.
Nice.
It's a mishmash of several sets.
Even if you lose in Dota, you can at least still look better. This tower's pretty hard to push, but you brought so many people that you got it done. I like that your team backed off after that too. That was a big swing for your team. Might throw the clarity on Zeus. Oh, you did. Yeah, your game sense and your moves are really good. You're usually doing what I would say, like, right as I'm suggesting it. I'm like, get a neutral item, and then the courier brings it to you. Oh, he was doing it. Nice stack. Are you familiar with Dungeons and Dragons at all?
Oh yes, very much.
Okay, so the way we were talking about teammate quality, I think about your team as like a D20 roll. And you could basically, at the end of the match, be like, okay, what was the overall team quality that I got this game? For the last game that we watched, not this one, based on the behavior of the Ogre and the Troll, I would say your teammate quality for an Archon game was probably like a 7. So not horrendous, but not above average either, because you have someone who's whining at their supports, someone who's not really making the best items. Yeah, just not the best decision making from your team. This time, at least gameplay wise, it seems like a more reasonable game. Sand King is making very odd decisions with his items, so he won't really have a power spike to bring to the table, so you're kind of playing without an off lane right now.
Yeah. What did I die to there? There was just a fight or something?
What did you die to just now?
Yeah.
You nearly died.
All right.
Yeah, the Bat Rider almost got you. You got down to 50 health. It's safe. You have a Tango Seeds of Eternity. Be back to full HP in no time.
Don't think I used the tangas, probably. I'm allergic.
Double stacks. You stack more than legend supports do, just so you know. So keep it up. That's a strength for your play. And you ping them as well. Wow. Here are your stacks, and here's a chocolate on your pillow. And a hot towel to wash your hands. Oh my gosh. The premier gourmet support. This is a formation mistake from Drow. Okay, Sand King did show up. Cool. Your team caught up in kills. We have a game on our hands. Did you happen to see the spreadsheet where I'm tracking the toxic behavior?
No, I didn't. I'm curious.
Okay, I'll link it to you. I'm also tracking just things like the number of comeback games that I have. So of 10 games that I played yesterday, 3 of them ended up being a comeback of some kind. So 3 of 10 times, even if you're behind, your team will end up winning. At least this is the trend so far. So a lot of times when people are mentally folding, just giving that reminder of like, hey, it's possible to make a comeback, or just even saying that to yourself of, I think we can still win this. That attitude can go a really long way in maintaining your focus and your morale as a player, especially when you have some whiny actors. Remember to basically just spam the bullwhip whenever it's up when you have that.
All right.
Double tap it to make yourself go fast. Or smack it on your carry. Or whatever core. So this phase of the game, your stacking is good. If your ult's up, I think you can just be following the Sand King and the Zeus around.
Yeah, I think I could be more proactive about my ult timer.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even in the 10 seconds leading up to it coming back, I could already be like planning my move.
Yeah. So I'm going to put as a note here for your hard support. Use your ult to push towers whenever it's up. I think the level 1 Warlock ult, I'll back up and see this death here real quick. Your level 1 Warlock ult is almost a guaranteed tower, as long as 2 or more heroes don't go try to defend it. You gotta smoke this time. Whoa, did they smoke on you?
Yeah, I was running to Drow because Drow was the first one to be spotted, but I ran into the bulk of their team and Drow did get away.
Oh, yeah.
Not sure how they got away, but yeah, I died to the smoke gang.
Oh, yeah, they're running up. Tide's going. Drow TPs. Ah, that's fine. So they have 5 people top. That'd be a good time to ping bottom. I think Sand King's getting it. Cool. And not the worst. Your death for a tier 1 tower is a reasonable trade. They're getting like no XP right now, which is great. SF is just getting 1 small camp. Yeah, still a winnable game.
One thing I do that makes me feel worse about these games is that I don't think about how my teammates are doing. If I start assessing them negatively, I immediately stop and bring myself back to what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm carrying too much weight on myself from the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Drow had a nice start. So you did your job as a 5 in giving them a good early game. Their itemization is not good for the game state. They're going to be taking a whole bunch of magic damage, but they're going a butterfly. So I don't know how receptive carries tend to be with item.
30 seconds or so.
Yeah.
I got yelled at here for not using Warlock ult, and I'm not sure if I could even have saved the Zeus who did. I think he died here.
Okay, so you're here. Let's do your view. Oh my god, no, you're out of range. There was no way for you to do that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think you could have even clipped him with the furthest range ult. Let's see the setup. So you were dead. Sand King died. Zeus softened up a lot of them. You TP in. It was physically impossible for you to have saved him. Okay, that's good to know.
I asked him not to speak to me that way again, but it only took about 3 minutes before he got frustrated enough to take it out on me.
Not the best self-control then. Yeah, that's really funny. I've had that happen to me, but also been queued with some friends, and we're in a match, and someone, you could kind of see why too, because this Zeus almost killed 3 people with his ult, so he's frustrated that he got so close to a triple kill and then didn't get it, and then immediately goes to, who was close by, why didn't you help me? And he wasn't paying attention to your death timer. You were physically not existing at the time. And you TP'd in as fast as you could, and you walked there directly, so you actually made 0 mistakes, and he was just coping and venting.
Even the question, what were you doing, is usually like...
It's condescending, and it's putting them on the spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an expression of disapproval and not at all a question.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I try to empathize and give them the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, maybe your parents didn't have the best parenting style, but that's not how you should talk to people. I had a really, really nice example of constructive criticism from someone, just as a random spell interaction example. Winter Wyvern puts a frost tomb thing on one target, and it gives them like shitloads of armor or maybe even physical immunity, but it doesn't do anything to prevent magic damage from happening. And there was a Winter Wyvern who cast that on one of their allies, and I was Luna, and I saw that and I was like, oh, I can't kill them, the team is there soon. So I just backed up, and my teammate was like, hey, so just so you know, the Winter Wyvern spell doesn't stop magic damage, so you could just Lucent Beam. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, they didn't say, what the fuck were you doing? Why didn't you do this? Like, they didn't frame it in an aggressive manner. They were just like, just, you know, in case you didn't know, this is how it works. And that was a really elegant and, I would say, mature way of expressing the information, which you don't always get. I think the scene could definitely improve in the way we communicate. It would make it a lot more playable. People wouldn't burn out on the game as fast.
I think some of these people prioritize being a good Dota player before being a good person, and it shows at the worst of times.
Yeah, but I would say that their perception on what makes a good player doesn't value morale as much as it should. Making people believe in themselves causes them to play better. If you're degrading them, usually they begin to doubt themselves and they play worse.
Effectiveness and politeness usually line up, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Just putting stay topped off with tangos again for hard support, and then spam bullwhip or any active neutral you have. It's not a huge mistake, but you could have been using that a bit more this game. Still a winnable game for your team?
I think I end up losing it for our team, but let's not spoil the ending just yet.
Yeah, but even if there is a major blunder in the late game, if people played cleaner leading up to that point, it might not have even mattered. So it's important not to take those things too harshly. You're the 5, so I feel like how can the 5 throw the game in the late game? Doesn't seem like that's something you can do.
Out.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess if you force staffed someone into danger.
Maybe I am being hard on myself.
Yeah. And with your hero draft on your team, you guys are relatively good at killing towers and relatively poor at chasing heroes down. You have a Sand King Blink, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So being able to take a tier 2 and then fall back is going to be how you want a Drow and a Warlock to be dismantling the enemy bases and so on. Yeah, very close game so far.
I think a part of the only issue I've identified with Warlock that makes me hesitate to pick him sometimes is upheaval means I'm usually waiting for the enemy team to initiate before I can react, and I can't be as proactive as I'd like with my spell use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that's where Sand King should be coming in and helping to set it up.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a weird cloak and dagger off lane, though, compared to, say, a Tide Hunter or an Axe, who are more of a conventional frontliner who's visible, because he wants to be invisible, so you guys don't really have a good person to just walk at the enemy team. Bounty wants to be sneaky, Zeus wants to be in the back line, you want to be in the back line, Drow wants to be in the back line. So you have that issue of no one really wants to be in the front, which makes your golem really important.
Yeah.
At least your golem can be in the front.
It was very fragile because of the Shadow Fiend Desolator.
Yeah. But so is he.
I think Archon has a problem with people prioritizing the unconventional builds over the conventional ones. So Sand King rushing Blink Ags without a Veil of Discord or anything, or Sniper Ags Kanda. It's just like gimmicky and yet far more common than standard builds.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this was a massive blunder, but it wasn't really your fault. Basically, anyone who passes the racks is majorly messing up, but then it becomes like a sunk cost, where it's like, oh, the Sand King is there, should we go forward and save him? Just get the tower and leave. That should be the objective here.
I'm thinking if I don't die here, I get yelled at for not doing enough.
Yeah, the Drow should not even be here. Neither should the Zeus. The Jakiro punished really well with that ult. Chat, stay safe. Get the objective. There's a tower there. Drow is good at shooting towers. Warlock is good at killing towers. Sand King is an invisible hero, so he doesn't want to go past towers because he has a whole bunch of detection.
Our numerical damage advantage is kind of negated by the armor bonuses as well.
Okay, so that definitely was not your fault. When it works, it's so epic. Yeah. That's actually one of the main reasons why comebacks happen in Dota, though, is because people can't resist the fountain dive. It's so tempting because you get to pad your stats. Maybe you get MVP. Maybe you get a crazy kill streak. It gets so tempting when you're in the enemy base to do dumb shit, when really just take a Rax and leave. Sometimes they're about to respawn, so you just take a tower and leave. But it takes so much battle discipline to say, no, we're done pushing, we're going to go use the map again. Because people feel like, hey, we're alive. Should we push? You actually should not.
How I struggle with a lot of games, like around minute 20, maybe we get a tier 2 and people want to push high ground. And like at its most basic level, the numbers just aren't high enough. You don't do enough damage to overcome the armor bonuses in the uphill.
Yeah, that's a key mistake, not from you specifically, but from the play style of your team, is in the late game, do not push racks before all T2 are cleared, unless all 5 enemies are dead and you have Roche or something. You would need to have some pretty insane circumstances to push this bottom racks before you get the T2s. The T2s would be so much better, everyone gets more gold.
I think I was constantly drawing lines on the map to show that somebody should be pushing it.
Yep.
But here we get caught instead at bot lane.
Yeah. You guys don't really have a good hero to do that, though. Because Drow needs to be with the team. She's not very mobile. And then Sand King needs to be starting the fights. So sometimes Zeus can, because he can still contribute his ult from far away.
I have a pusher build for when I'm crushing my own lane with Boots of Travel and getting the AoE Word of Healing that allows me to just QW and then that lane is gone for another minute. But I wasn't winning in an overwhelming way here.
Team's still up in Vision. Or in Net Worth. You have Vision and they're jungle, which is good.
I'm waiting on wards for Roche, I think.
Getting your T4. Very nice. Grouping up and going. It's very well worded. Staying outside is smart, so you don't all get AoE'd. Enemy team is all smoked. Ooh. Okay. Slow this down.
Slowdown is very helpful.
Alright, you got cheese. Yum. Okay. Got your ult down. Upheaval. This might be a good point to assess what is your combo. I know it's a lot of chaos in the fight, but what is your order of spells and items that you want to use whenever the fight starts? Because you have the Solar Crest, my immediate thought was probably just throw that on Drow before you do your spell sequence, because they're opening on Drow, so that would give her a barrier, maybe even a Glimmer too, and then throw the ult, and then the Upheaval. Enemy team has a better position here, since they got the high ground spot.
I was pretty shocked. But I did think the best thing to do would be to Glimmer myself to get the max slow on Upheaval.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure that was correct because Shadow Fiend is BKB, so I could never do anything to him during that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a good play by the enemy team, being that coordinated to all 5 smoke. They have very good AoE ults too, with the SF ult and the Tide ult. Enemy team has
The whole here was to not buy back.
Mm-hmm.
The Drow is saying not to, and I don't think I could have stopped them from getting that.
Yeah, I think they're going to get that Rex regardless. SF is leaving, pinging the OD is good.
The bot fight.
Nice, your team got the OD. Yes, I think top T2 would be the next objective. You could push this and then portal top.
I was getting Pipe of Insight.
Nice. Pipe is very good against their team. Jakiro, tons of spell damage, OD, Bat Rider. Nice. Good decision.
I had to think pretty hard about it because the opportunity cost always hurts me more than the gold cost. And then I think about what would have happened if I'd gotten another Team Aura.
Drow has no BKB. They have no shard. They have no scepter. Oh my goodness. Oh no.
Very typical greedy build as well. One blade mail would have destroyed her.
Mm-hmm.
Not that she could get the autos off in time with no BKB.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things that OD does is he makes me feel like I'm forced to make a BKB regardless of anyone else in the game. Just because of Banish.
Yeah.
And then the shard is incredibly important for pushing high ground. I feel like anytime you have a Drow carry, it's just not even worth trying to run at them 5v5 or even 5v4 unless you get the shard, because that negates the low ground disadvantage. So she could be standing right there, pop the glacier, and she can be hitting the tier 3.
I didn't think of that. Drow is my position 1 pick these days while I'm learning her, so I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah, she's a very good tower killer because of the glacier thing. So that makes Tormentor really important whenever she's on the team. And then just making sure that item is taken before you go for the tier 3 towers on the high ground. It's not that expensive either. Like I would say it's way more valuable than the data list because it also means that she can stand further back whenever fights are happening.
Yeah. Dying is a pretty big DPS loss.
What a wisdom. Unless you have Wraith King Ags.
I think Sun Tzu said that actually.
Yeah. I could believe it. Oh no. Oh, nice. Still a winnable game. 28-28. What a nice one.
I skipped that fight to push super creeps out of base.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have golem, so I didn't think I could add much.
Yeah.
I was ready to die for that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your team really needs to get the top T2. So you pushing that lane is actually your head is in the right place. I don't know what.
We could lose a base tower while winning a fight if the super creeps are in our base. I was worried about it.
Mm-hmm. Looks like the Zeus is going to join you.
Eventually.
Eventually. Travis going Lincolns. I guess for Lasso. I know why she made a data list. It has a special cool icon with the Arcana. The drip. What item are you going to get next? Data list. Oh, why is that?
Contextualizes the choice. It's better than BKB now.
Yeah. Unless BKB also has a cool icon, in which case Drow has no excuse.
Well, Valve can manipulate the player base into playing better now.
Yeah. Make the best hero builds the most aesthetic.
Yeah.
What? Drow gave the scepter to someone else. It's so good for her. Your positioning here is great. It's just, oh, you also, let me just back it up. Watch this fight. It's a pretty important one.
A lot happening.
Yeah. Okay, he ults. Okay. Pipe first. Just a reminder. Use pipe of insight / buffs before fight starts if you can. Or as it starts. You do have a cheese that you can eat. And the Sand King didn't get his ult. That's unfortunate. It's a high ground situation. Oh no.
I was going to glimmer him.
Yeah. Oh, Sand King's back. I'm getting some of them.
His ags popped.
Mm-hmm.
Dispelled them.
Nice. Still a winnable game. What an epic match.
I had pinged the tower there up for the like 8th time this game.
Mm-hmm.
The tier 2 top.
Get the Aghanim's shard. Drow Ranger, please. No high ground miss penalty, further range. It also pushes melee heroes off of you onto low ground whenever you activate it, which is very nice. I got the tier 2 top though. The dream. Cube kill. Whole enemy team is smoked. Enemy team has been a lot more coordinated about smoking his 5.
Yeah.
Oh, you're smoked too.
I was tabbed out texting you about confirming about the time because I was panicking that I miscalculated the time difference.
Oh, yeah. What time zone are you in?
I think GMT, or I don't know what it would be in global ones. It's +0, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah. UK time zone.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'll take responsibility for that one.
Well, they were smoked. I sincerely doubt I could have done anything if they had run into
Yeah,
me
true.
when I was available. But after that, the team Drow ended up getting caught and no buyback, so that's how I ended up losing.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I'd kind of baited our team a little bit, but also Bounty led them towards our Drow, and then like TP'd out, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see the positioning and the information that you had at the time. Because one of the tricky things is assessing when and where you can actually push. So your whole team is smoked at bottom, kind of looking for a kill or something. Top is actually the lane where you should be pushing because there's no tower to contest. So that's the most likely place that your team would get a Rax. And if you do get the Rax, that would mean that your super creeps are versus their super creeps, so the lane is equal again. So decision-making mistake from the team as a whole to go that way.
I think my mistake there is going up into that area thinking that even if I get caught, my team can capitalize on it, but I wasn't actually paying attention to my team. I don't think I should have been up there even if my team was there.
Yeah. Yeah, also because they're all missing. This
My
is
right
a
click there in the first place was wrong.
Yeah, this is a fundamental that I'm trying to work on as well, is if we're just watching the game from the mini-map, thinking about where relative to the rest of the map you should be positioned and where your other heroes should be positioned. So ideally Sand King and Zeus are kind of showing, and then Bounty, you and Drow are kind of sneakily hiding around them and further away from where the enemy team would be. But the tricky thing about the push that you guys did down bottom was there was no good retreat angle.
Yeah.
There should always be a way that you can get out of a fight. So yeah, Drow's dead for a very long amount of time. They didn't get your T2s though, so wondering if they just thrown right now.
I think Sand King gets caught in our base later. This is where the draft issue is really starting to show with the way Tidehunter could take so many hits, but then no one on our team could.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't really have a frontliner. You did use pipe, but there was a stun at first. Not too much you could do. Yeah, that would be a positional mistake from Sand King and Bounty. So the mindset for your team here should be you're perfectly happy with giving up 2 lanes of racks and taking megas to not lose the game. Right. So there's no reason to contest anything other than throne until Drow is up. So Sand King should not be there. They should all basically be where you're standing. That's the only safe spot. You could even be a bit further back and they could be standing where you are. Yeah. Would be good positioning.
I think if Sand King had that good of a level of positioning, he wouldn't have lost the lane in the first place. But at this point, I'm looking at what I could do instead. And here it seems like not much.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot to work with at this point. And thank you so much for the extra time, by the way.
Oh, hell yeah. It's very fun. So I'm just going to put a couple notes here for carry, because you said you do play carry.
Yeah.
I would say prioritize survival above damage. So you want to make sure you can live the fights before you're actually thinking about dismantling them. I see this draw with the no BKB is a key issue there. And then take objectives in order of their vulnerability. So you want to take out the T2s before the high ground towers. I know you know this, it's just sometimes hard when you're trying to work with your team and they're very stubbornly pushing where they shouldn't. And then also make sure you get Roche. So I would say it's like T2s, then Roche, then T3s. I would say actually after Roche, maybe get 1 pickoff. 1 plus pickoffs, and then T3. And then as a note, do not dive past tower plus racks. We got to see the consequences of that. I'm going to put this in red. Just as a PSA for all Dota gamers out there, I know getting kills is very glorious and fancy, but for the love of God, just get the tower. This tower bottom. They say easy in a 54-minute game. So cute. Well, nice games. I feel like you played well. Some of it's figuring out how to deal with what people are doing and deal with your draft and what you can do about it. The draft that you guys had would have been much better on the back foot. So trying to force pushes sometimes just isn't tenable with how strong the enemy team is. Because if both teams are even, the team that is defending has a huge advantage because they have high ground and armor and all this other stuff. Teleport reinforcement. So this kind of game, Drow could have been really good defending on the high ground and playing really cautious. But they were kind of running around as though they had a couple frontliners. They could have played exactly the same way that they did this game if they had, say, a Mars and a Tusk and a Dragon Knight or something. They had some beefy frontliners to tank for her, but that wasn't really the case. So, nice games overall. Yeah.
I think our comp was workable if we played to its strengths, but then people probably just had their own set way of playing and were replicating it here, and it didn't work out.
Yep, but it happens. And also remember, a lot of people who will criticize you and roast you, they don't know what they're talking about, so take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. I'm delighted with the amount of just like small bits of information that get just thrown out with no follow-up, and I'm like listening to that and learning tricks here and there.
Good. Well, great working with you. Thanks for getting some Dota coaching.
Likewise, you've been very helpful, and I feel enabled to bring exactly what the problem is and just have it dealt with in a very fast way.
Hell yeah. If you have any other questions, feel free to just ping me in Discord.
Will do. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, good luck, have fun. Appreciate you.